Okay, welcome tonight. We have our beautiful friend Yantra-ji here with us from Australia. So I'd like to welcome her warmly into our group, and she's a beautiful author of many books. I feel very blessed that she's also in Wholehearted Wonder Women 50 plus. So welcome, sweet friend.
Thank you, Lulu. Thank you so much. So good to be here chatting with you tonight. Well, your night, my morning.
Yeah. So Yantra-ji wrote chapter 4, which is called When Death Comes, Finding Peace in the Face of Unimaginable Pain. She is a spiritual teacher and a healer and a guide for people all over the world. And her own story has had, many challenges. And I feel very blessed to have travelled, many decades with her and understanding her journey. You are a light in the world. I want to say you are a true light in the world, and watching the love that you bring forward is just a gift. So thank you for that. Would you like to share a little bit about your chapter with us?
Yes, I'd love to. When you asked me to about the book, I didn't actually know what the book was called or the content of the book, and yet what was here was this impelling force to write the chapter about meeting death. And I will write a book about death at some stage, but that still hasn't occurred. And I feel that when we're the age that we are, we've encountered so much. I mean, it can happen at any age, of course, but by the time we're 50, there are so many deaths that we've experienced, deaths of relationships, of careers, of ideas, of identity, of our youthfulness, maybe of our fertility as well, by the time we get to 50. And then there's also the physical death that we experience of our loved ones, whether it's parents or partners or siblings or friends or children. And so in my case, it's been many, many deaths. And so I really wanted to bring that and how we can be courageous in the face of death and true in the face of death.
And, society in some ways doesn't have a place for us to have these open discussions about, how it feels or, what happens when you are losing someone. It's nearly even kind of, I want to say, sort of private to grieve. Like, people go and grieve in their own way. And I think the conversations around this are very important as well. In one of my groups, I've been reading the book A Year to Live, and he talks about, preparing to die while you're living, and how,
Yes.
we kind of keep it out of our thoughts as if it's not, a possibility. So, these dialogues are very important for everyone.
Yeah, and I think what you're saying is so true, not just about physical death. So if we have a year to live, but what about everything? You see, we're looking at everything around us that's being born and dying constantly. You look out the window, and I remember this when my son died, we had a circle on the floor, people would come, and candles and rescue remedy and photos. And I'd look out the window, and even though it was a pine tree, like needle pine tree, I kept seeing a tree with leaves as though the leaves were falling. And as I looked at the tree, what was there was, we don't grieve as each leaf falls from the tree. The tree doesn't grieve as it loses each part of itself. And this was, I didn't write about this in the book. I don't know that I've shared this with anybody before either. But this is something, that I kept coming to my attention. And I think it's this way that, as I said, whether it's a career, whether it's our physical body, whether it's a loved one, that we're experiencing loss or death, yes, there's the heartfelt attachment, and yet there's the naturalness of change. Really, it's what death is change.
And I'm not sure which philosophy it is, but there's one philosophy that says we die every day. Like we every day is kind of like a death. We're having this death every day. So the part in your tool and technique, and I know you even summarized that you weren't even sort of thinking tool or technique, but you wanted to bring the awareness of, being truth telling to ourselves. That was, an important part that I really loved in, your tool. And yeah, do you want to share a little bit about that?
Yeah, the truth telling. You see, we say we want to be true, or we say we want to be free, or maybe it's more simple than that, especially in the times that we're living in. We'll hear about love and peace. We say we want peace, we say we want love and to be loving, but not if it means that, but not if it means this. And this comes up for everybody, comes up for all of us. And really, it's no matter what. It has to be no matter what. I'll be loving no matter what. I'll be true no matter what. I want freedom and peace no matter what. And not knowing what that looks like. And what that does is it breaks us open to what's true, to what's real, rather than this idea of, we can be in a relationship and we will do anything to keep the relationship because we don't want to be true, or we'll do anything to, we'll sell ourselves out rather than be true. And so it's the same with death. We have to be willing to allow whatever's here, whatever emotional response comes up, and discover. You see, it's not even useful for me to say, well, you will find peace and love in the heart of it, which you will. That's not useful. We have to be willing to open and discover and experience that we actually do find peace and love and stillness in the heart of anything, in the core of anything. And I think most people could relate if they've never experienced the death of a child, but they could have that sense that it might be one of the most difficult deaths that you could experience. Yeah. And people go into a fear story around, I can't even imagine how that would be. Well, we can't imagine it. We can only be with it. And it's one step right here, right here, right here and now. So tears, upset, anger, pain, peace, tears, freedom, joy, peace, tears, like this, whatever's here. So it's about the willingness, whether, I remember someone saying, well, they were in the supermarket and they felt they had to hold back because you couldn't show emotion while you were out. Well, why not? When my son died, I'd be standing in the aisle of the supermarket and tears had come, and well, so what? What possibly worse could there be that could happen?
True.
Yeah.
So I feel very blessed that you wrote this story in our book and shared this journey that you have been on, and thank you so much for sharing that with us. So a little bit about you. I had a few questions. It's been nice to get to know the authors in our book, and so for all you viewers, you may have read the chapter, you've read the people's bios, and now you're getting a little sort of front face view of who each of the authors is. And so yeah, I just have some fun questions to ask you. So my first question is, what did you want to be when you grew up?
It's a good question, that one, isn't it? Because my dad was an artist with a scientific mind. My mum was spiritual but worked scientifically. She was a nursing sister in the medical field. So I had art and science, religion and not religion, and writing. But it's interesting with the writing is that I never saw myself. I mean, I did when I was young. You know, the title of the story was Long Ago and Far Away. My very first little story, as you do when you're a child. But I was never really interested in writing novels, let's say. And you can see there's books behind me, and I'm currently writing 3 more, editing 3 more as we speak. So, but I didn't really know I'd become an author. I knew I'd write, but I didn't equate that with being an author. It wasn't an idea of who I'd be. My art teacher said, you'll either be an art teacher or a fashion designer. But I found who you needed to be at art school. There was kind of this look, how you needed to be and act. I didn't want to do that. And so I left that. And I actually, with my daughter's father, my oldest daughter, when her father died, I was supported with alternative therapies. I mean, I'd had home births and I was a vegetarian and alternative therapies. And so I had this sense I'd either be an artist or a nurse. I'm squeamish, so that didn't work. And everything is about art and creativity and writing and healing, you know, because if you look at the medical profession, really it's about healing and well-being. And so we might have an idea as a child, oh, this, and yet life takes hold of it. And in a way it's still the same, but it was transformed. And so it is about spirituality and God and truthfulness and finding our place in the world, and all of the big questions I grappled with as a child. It's what I live and share as an adult.
Beautiful. So I will get Yantra to share all her different links for her books, so you can see those as well when we finish the live. So I know you're a grandparent, and I'm not sure of the other authors if there were many other grandparents. So I know you're both a parent and a grandparent. So I thought I'd ask you, what's the best thing about being a parent and also being a grandparent?
Being a parent, you know, I loved being a parent. I didn't want to be an old parent. My parents seemed old when I was growing up compared to my friends. So I was a really young parent. And then having India, our littlest one, who's just turned 13, now I am an older parent as well. So the best thing about being a parent is that we for me, I've been able to see through my parents' eyes, really, in parenting, what they did, what they didn't do, and the blessing and these deep realizations and understandings that we have. It's so easy, you know, to blame our parents for what they did and what they didn't do, but this richness of what they brought. And then, so just before I share about being a grandparent, having a younger child, my older daughters got to see how they were parented. So that's been such a blessing, because that's something that they've both shared, you know, that it's no different. They get to see how they were parented in the way I parent. And that's been a blessing for them, and a deepening in our bonding and relationship. And now being a grandparent as well. So we went from no grandchildren to instant grandparents. We had 4 grandchildren in one go. One of my daughters had twins, another had another little boy. They were born all within 2 weeks of each other, and a couple of months later we had Richard's son and our daughter-in-law. They had a little one as well. So we now have 7 grandchildren. Yes, all 4 and under. And it's beautiful. What's beautiful is to see these little beings, the freshness. And you know, I worked in Rudolf Steiner early childhood education, and you and I met through our journey with the Steiner School with our children. so I get to see these beautiful little children flourishing. I get to see my daughters parenting, both the challenges, yes, of course, but the beauty of, you know, the way they choose to parent, not necessarily my way, but the richness of the way they get to parent. So it's such a blessing to be a parent and a grandparent.
Beautiful.
Yeah.
And what's your special family celebration that you enjoy?
Yes, I thought you might ask that one. All of them. We because I went, oh, a special
celebration. If it's family and celebration together, it's all of it.
yeah. I know that some families don't celebrate a lot, and we tend to celebrate everything. So especially birthdays. And you know, through COVID and the lockdown, I know it's difficult for my girls that we're not able to get together, but everything becomes a celebration. We love being together. We love sharing cups of tea and food together, or chai, or, you know, for just coming together as a family is something we love. And so Easter, the traditional celebrations for us, the Christian festivals, we celebrate Easter, we love Christmas, we celebrate Advent, we always, well, again, COVID's a bit different, but we've always baked together. You know, so when my excuse me, when my children were young, we'd bake together. As adults, they'd want to come and bake together. Now with their little ones, we'd bake together and, you know, have the table and even the little ones. And so it's this, it's just beautiful. It's about living life, really. So celebrating is living life together.
And you know, those shared experiences, and as you know, as you spoke about the Steiner, you know, we all know that we made bread with the children. And just in this last week, I posted something on Facebook about the apron, the grandmother's apron, or the mother's
Yes,
apron.
yeah.
And you know what the apron was used for, you know, wiping brows, and you know, rubbing sore knees, and you know, everything, hiding a child when they were sad, you know.
Well,
So
we still wear aprons. I mean, you
yeah,
know, when I cook, obviously depending what it is, but I put on the apron when the little ones come. We put on the apron. India, she has her apron. It's
yeah, beautiful. So yeah, creating celebrations, you know, all the time. Beautiful. And my last question is, in what ways do you feel different than when you were younger? Or maybe just even in, you know, your learning or your wisdom, what came through, you know, through your life that
yeah. So I was reflecting on that, and it's when I was very young, I experienced the world as openness, connected openness. And through our life, we all experience this. Something happens and we close. Something happens and we get afraid. Something happens and we withdraw. Something happens and we push back, or however that plays out. And so for me, I became afraid. And my life, I suppose, was a bit more withdrawn. But now, you know, going through everything that I've gone through and the experiences that I've had have opened me to that one that was already wide open and free. So it's almost like she, the younger one of me, had to have all those experiences to come back home to herself more deeply. Yeah, and maybe for all of us, that's true as well. You know, that we have the experiences to re-find what was never lost.
yeah, beautifully said. And you know, open when we think we can't open, and then open a little bit more, and then open again.
Yes.
You know,
Yeah, absolutely.
yeah, beautiful.
Yeah.
So I know that you have an offer to share with our group and our viewers. So would you like to? You could verbally.
Yeah. It's just very simple. You know, if you visit the Living Alignment website, you'll see there are lots of offers and gifts, free resources. So that's really what I encourage. You know, it's not necessarily anything particular, but go and have a look at the website. And I also offer online group meetings every week. And my Tuesday morning is your Monday evening now, isn't it? So So this is a beautiful time that if you are in the US and we're in Australia, that this time frame works for people, and we meet for an hour to an hour and a half every week, and I can put that link in as well. But there's lots of support and free resources on the website.
And so your group's like, spiritual nourishment for people on a weekly basis. Is that correct?
To really come back home to who we are.
Lovely.
Yes.
Yeah. Beautiful.
Yeah, beautiful. Thanks for asking that, darling.
So yeah, as I said, Yantra-ji will put that information in our Facebook group and also in the chat under our interview here. So I thank you so much for being in this book and sharing your wisdom and your love with our readers. And I look forward to seeing your next books that are coming out as well. And I
Thank you,
send
darling. Yes.
huge big love and hugs to Australia.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Love you, darling.
Love you too.